If you have the factory B&O system in your Bronco and you're looking for a full system upgrade, I would highly recommend you stick around to see what Trail 7 has put together for you. Hey everybody, Mike here with Trail 7. I'm really excited to be here today. We're going to show you what Trail 7 has put together for you Bronco owners that have the B&O factory system that you're looking for a full system upgrade. We put together a 100% plug and play system that replaces the factory B&O with an amplifier, with speakers, and with a subwoofer. We're going to show you a little bit about what we put together for you. We'll show you how much of an upgrade this is for such an easy installation that it really is. So we've already shown you the speaker upgrade in the Bronco, in the Raptor, and in the non-Raptor. Today we're going to show you the plug-and-play amplifier upgrade and the plug-and-play subsystem. So what we have here is the full bracket of how you're going to receive it from Trail 7 if you select the Trail 7 plug-and-play bundle. We will put together another option if you wanted to build this board out to yourself, and we'll show you what that involves over here. So let me show you what Trail 7 puts together for you as a plug-and-play bundle. We mount the amp, of course, as you can see. We mount the pack module. We do attach the RCAs to the board in the back. Everything is connected, everything is zip tied, everything is screwed in. So you'll receive this out of the box just like this, ready to go. You'll simply route one cable up to the factory radio. You'll route one cable up to the battery. You'll attach the T-harness to the factory radio, install the fuse in the battery, a couple of other do's that will show you how easy it is to do, and you have a full system plug and play install. Can't get any more easier than that. Now, of course, this install is only applicable for the factory B&O system. If you have a non-B&O system, take a look out for some other things that we have coming out. This install also is applicable for any one of the kits that we sell. We're going to offer different amplifiers. We'll offer different subwoofers, different subwoofer setups. This one mounts on the driver's side, on the side, so you keep all of your cargo area. We have a downfiring sub, we have a tailgate sub, we have plenty of other options to bring to you. As far as tools are concerned, very simple tools, a couple of sockets, a couple of screwdrivers. We'll list them all right here for you. And as I mentioned earlier, this does come as plug and play. We will have an option together that is build your own, and we'll list every single part and piece that comes with it. You'll get all of the zip ties, you'll get all of the fasteners, you'll get all of the hardware, everything that's required. Regardless if you choose the plug and play amp setup or not, your T-harness will be still set up plug and play, so this will connect into the factory radio. So regardless if it's the do-it-yourself or if it's the plug and play bundle, this will come prepared for you. All right, now that we've shown you a little bit about what we put together for you, let's show you the fun part and how easy this is to install into your Bronco. Let's go. All right, so we're in the back of the Bronco. This is where we're going to mount that amp bracket. It's going to go behind this panel here. So of course we need to get this panel off. In order to do that, we need to remove a couple of other panels to get access to behind here. So this bottom board needs to come out by removing the 2 bolts on each corner. With your panel removal tool, you'll just pop off the piece of plastic on top of there, exposing 2 10mm bolts on each corner. That'll come out and remove this tray. That'll allow us access to this trim panel piece here and the trim panel piece up there, which will also come out. Then we can remove the panel over here. By doing so, we're just gonna pop off with the panel removal tool, a little section over here, and stick your hand behind it. You'll pop off each tab one by one with your hand. That'll expose a couple of connectors back here, which you'll need to disconnect, and then you can remove this trim panel. Then you'll see the factory B&O system, the amplifier and the sub. Remove that bracket, simply install the new bracket, and then keep on going from there. So high level, that's what we're going to do. Now let's show you each piece one at a time, and let's start removing this bottom board here. This just pops off just like this. Now you have these 2 10mm bolts on each corner. Go ahead and remove that. And that comes out like that. All right, let's go ahead and get all the other corners out. Now that those are all out, we can go ahead and take this board out. Let's go ahead and lift it up here. Now that the board is out, it gives access to this panel here. This needs to come out so we can take this side piece off, because you can see it's overlapping over here. Just pop it off with your trim panel removal tool, and it just pops right out. Now this is all exposed, and we do need to remove this piece up here. So with the panel removal tool, just lift up on one end here, and you can stick your fingers underneath there, and this piece, this entire piece here, just pulls right off. It has the little clips in there holding it into the back. So we go ahead and lift that up, put our fingers underneath here, and can just pull right up, and the whole thing comes out. All right, so in order to get this panel off of here, there's a tiny little piece of trim back behind here. It's held on by two little clips, so we need to pop this panel piece off here first. Very simple. Just with your panel removal tool, just lift it up. Now you're ready to go ahead and start removing the panel. As I said before, you're going to start from the top and just start popping off the clips one by one as you go down. So for here, there's these clips behind here that have a little U channel that the clip is mounted into and holding the trim piece on. What you can do is lift both sides, lift the top of it and the bottom of it, and kind of pull the bottom out and push the top down, and you'll see it pops it out. And again, just reach your hand back behind here and just push out one clip at a time. So here are the three connectors that I was mentioning earlier. Just go ahead and remove this bottom one here first. Just pushing the tab, pull it out. Let's go ahead and remove these now. This is the charger, or the 12-volt outlet, and this is the light. So you're going to pull that out. In order to get this out, there's this little tab up top here. So I recommend getting just a small little flathead screwdriver. And you just poke that tab in. Now we're just going to go ahead and keep popping the rest of the clips off. You can take this piece off here if it helps. Now in order to get this part over here, obviously I came over to the passenger rear door here to go ahead and give me leverage to pull the rest of it off. There's an overlapping piece right here that needs to come off. So let's go ahead and continue. Just pop off each clip as necessary to remove the piece. All right, now that we have the factory B&O system, sub, and amplifier exposed, let's go ahead and get rid of this thing. Just so you know, the factory B&O amplifier only powers the subwoofer, the two dash speakers, and the kick speakers, which means the center speaker and the rear roll bar speakers are not powered at all by the B&O amplifier. Those are powered directly from the radio. So in order to remove this, we have a connector up top here that's going to come out. We have 3 connectors on the back here that are going to come out. We have 2 bolts on top that are going to come out, and 2 bolts down below. So it's 4 bolts, 4 connectors, and this thing is out. And that's it. The factory B&O amplifier and subwoofer are removed. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and remove these also. If these get stuck inside the Bronco, you're going to want to go ahead and pull these out and put them into the trim piece so that when you put them back in, they're easy just to push in. All right, now that the factory sub box is out, we're ready to go ahead and put in the upgraded bracket with the upgraded amplifier. So we're going to mount this bracket in the same spot using the factory locations. Now just make sure when you do that, you leave these 3 connectors out, because these 3 connectors are going to connect into the harness that's attached to the pack module. And using the factory hardware, we can go ahead and mount the bracket into place. All right, now a couple more things to do here. Let's go ahead and mount the ground. The ground is going to go right onto this factory ground location here. There you go, we're grounded. Power's connected, ground is connected, the battery's not yet connected. Of course, we haven't ran that, but we will. Now let's go ahead and connect these 3 factory connectors into the new pack harness connections. There you go. You should see a light on the pack. Just let you know that there's connectivity. And now we're going to route the wire up to the factory head unit, and we're also going to route the power up to the battery. All right, so the new bundle is attached, the new bundle is connected, it's into place. We're going to go ahead and route the power wire and the one connection that's going to attach to the factory head unit T-harness. But before we do that, I want to grab the sub, and I want to route the sub wire just for ease of logistics of how the panels come back together. So we're going to go ahead and grab the sub, I'll set it there, I'll route the sub wire, connect it to the amp. It's the only thing that's not connected. So everything else from the bundle is connected. The sub is not, because the pre-terminated connector is attached to the sub wire. So let's go ahead and get the sub, I'll rest it there, I'll route that wire, connect it, and then route the other wires that way and put it all back together. All right, so the sub box is back here. I'm just going to rest it here like I said so I can route the cabling. And I'm just going to, so this cable has the attachment that connects to the amp. Just route this back behind here. Route it back behind. And this will just connect right into the sub port on the end. Now we'll just go ahead and route this along here, and we'll button it up, we'll zip tie it down. I just wanted to get it into place here, so when we do route the harness and the power, we can route all three of them together underneath here, so we can mount that trim panel down on top of it. The harness and the power wire are going to route to the driver side. We're going to remove the trim panels on the driver side, and that's going to route the power and the harness along the trim, along the door, up to the front. We'll show you that here in a second. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and route the power and the harness. So like I said earlier, we're going to just lay this along here. I'll zip tie that down to the wiring that's already there. And this power wire is going to come along this trim. It's going to run along the trim on the driver's side here, all the way up to the front. And the firewall for the power wire is right underneath the driver's brake on the left-hand side up top there. So we're going to go ahead and start removing some trim panel pieces here. Let's start with this one over here. So let's go ahead and get this piece off first. Just like the other side, just lifts right up. Just pop the clips right out. While we're here, we're going to go ahead and get this piece off here as well. That's good for now. That's the piece that leads up to the front. Now we're going to pop just the couple of clips that are holding this portion down here so we can get the cabling underneath that lip. That's what we're after. And there's a little cavity right here we want to feed that wire through. That's probably enough where I can get my hand inside on this side here. It's hard to see, but from this angle you can see a little hole right there where the cable is going to go into. Ultimately, we just want the cable underneath this trim panel. You have to pull this side out pretty good in order to get enough space underneath there. Just go ahead and pull those clips out just like you did on the passenger side there. Now that enough is out, you can kind of lift it in a way where it gives you that clearance to put the cable up underneath there. There we go. All right, now that the cable is through and through on the other side over here, we can go ahead and reattach the side piece here. All right, so that's back in. Now we're going to continue to run the wiring along the trim here, all the way up to the driver's side seat. Just put it right inside that channel. Now that the cable is underneath here, we can go ahead and put this trim piece panel back. And we'll go to the front so we can pull the rest of that cable, route it underneath the trim. So we're going to remove all of this trim piece now that the cable is up here. So we're going to remove this Ford Performance piece first. I'm going to finish routing the cable on the driver's side here, up underneath this trim piece here. There. Then we have to remove this piece here, which you have to remove the grab handle to do so. We want to take this dead pedal piece off, which then gives us the access to run the power cable up to the firewall. So let's go ahead and remove our grab handle so we can remove this trim pieces. This is the T30. Pull the bottom part out and then just pull the top part out. And we're going to go ahead and remove this cover piece off of here that exposes two 10mm bolts that need to come out. Now there's two 10mm. There's one down here. There's a hole up on top here. We're going to go ahead and continue with the trim and remove this piece up here now. Lift all of this. Remember, you have the two bolts inside there. And now we have the area exposed to where we're going to run the rest of the cabling, the power cabling. Additionally, this is where the harness is going to come to an end with the clip here. We're going to install a T-harness to the back of the factory radio, which is going to route under the steering column here and connect to the harness over here. All right, now we're ready to go ahead and connect the portions at the back of the radio. So we're going to use our provided T-harness and the cable extension, which is going to connect to the wire harness that was attached and extended from the rear. So to access the connections, we're going to drop the glove box. There's a 7mm bolt behind that. We'll remove a panel underneath the steering wheel column here. There's a 7mm bolt right there. We're going to remove this grab handle. There's two T30 Torx bit bolts that come out from there. And then the lower control unit from the Bronco here just pops right out. And then we'll access the two connections, which we're going to connect onto here, and then run the harness over and connect into where we have it extended from the back. So let's go ahead and get that taken care of. Once you get this panel removed, you'll see three connectors behind it that need to come off. So take the top one off. Just press the tab, pull it out. Push that tab in, that comes right out. The same on this side. Push that tab down, and the whole connector comes out. All right, we're gonna go ahead and attach the T-harness now. There are two connectors in the bottom of the factory radio here. On the left side is a gray connector. On the right side is a black connector. That's the one we want. There's a little tab. If you reach inside here, you'll feel the tab, where you'll press the tab and then pull the connector right out. What you'll do is go ahead and install the T-harness now. Connect that into the same spot that this one came out of. And go ahead and connect the other end back into the T-harness connection. And you're going to route this wire through the slot over here, through the steering wheel column, and it'll come out on the other side through here, and it'll connect to the connector that you ran from the back of the harness. Just find the best path to push the connector through. And now you're going to connect these two connections here. I'm just going to loop the cable up here and just put a zip tie. Let's put it back together now and just do what we did backwards to remove it. There's these three connectors. They only go into one spot. Put that back where it goes. Let's lower this down so it clears it, and let's go ahead and just snap us back into place. Just like that. We can put this bottom piece back in here as well. Bottom piece is back in. Let's put our two 7mm bolts back in. Can snap our piece back up here. So that's done. Let's go ahead and put our grab handle back on. All right, now let's go ahead and carry on with our power wire up to the fuse block and then connect to the battery, and then we're ready to test out our power. All right, now it's time to run the power from the driver's side footwell up through a rubber grommet. The grommet is a little rubber piece that's inside the firewall there. We're going to remove that grommet. We're going to drill a hole through that grommet in order to fit the power wire. Then we're going to run the power wire up here. There's a fuse bracket that mounts right underneath this area here, and then we're going to connect that to the battery. So let's go ahead and get this grommet out of here, and I'll drill that hole in there. So that's the grommet there. We're going to go ahead and drill a hole into this. We'll be right back. All right, we're going to go ahead and feed the power wire through The grommet location, I drilled the hole in the grommet. We're gonna go ahead and feed the wire through, and then we will attach the grommet to the cable afterwards. All right, the power wire is now through the firewall. Let's go ahead and put the grommet on. Now we have a hole in there, so we can feed the grommet through. Just push this all the way up here so you can pull out the remaining slack. And this is perfect length because the fuse bracket's going to mount right behind here. So let's go ahead and prepare that to install. So this 13 mil bolt's going to come out, and the fuse holder, this piece of the fuse holder fits into the little slot right here, and then that 13 mil bolt holds this back into place. So let's go ahead and get this bolt removed. All right, once you get the bolt out far enough, if you have a long socket, the battery may get in the way, so I'd recommend switching over to a ratchet wrench. You can't use the ratchet wrench in the beginning because the bolt is so close up against the body that this won't fit inside there. So you need to use a socket to begin with and then switch over to a ratchet wrench. Unless you have another solution, by all means. All right, now once that bolt is out, we're gonna go ahead and take our fuse block, mount it on the fuse bracket here, and we can go ahead and install the amp wire to the other side. So the fuse is already in here, the lead is ready to connect to the battery. Let's go ahead and get this inside here. Now we're just going to tighten this down. We'll get it all prepped before we install it, before we mount the bracket. Let's go ahead and put our cover back on. If you put this in here this way, you can swing it around into the slot there. It sets down just like that. All right, our fuse block is mounted on the fuse bracket. Our power is ran. Let's go ahead and connect the power lead to the battery terminal. So your bundle is also going to include the little nut that's required for that. All right, so now that's done, we're gonna go ahead and do a power test before we button everything else up. So the trim panels are still off, the sub is not yet connected. Of course, the amp isn't dialed in yet, the pack module isn't completely dialed in yet. We still have a couple of things to walk through on that. But most importantly, let's just to make sure that we have power to the amp and that everything comes on before we button everything up. So let's get on to that. All right, real simple power test. I'm just gonna turn the accessories on. I just wanna make sure that the power turns on to the amplifier. So just turn the accessory on real quick. And we have a blue light. That tells us we're good. What we're gonna do now is get everything buttoned up. We'll put all of the trim pieces back on, put the front together, and then work our way back, put the trim panel pieces back on, and then work our way further back, and we'll put the final trim pieces on in the back, and we'll mount the sub, and then we'll dial in the amp, dial in the pack module, and you'll be good to go. All right, now we're just gonna do what we did before, but backwards. Put our trim piece back together. Let's take our grab handle and put it back in here. And now let's go ahead and put our last piece of trim panel in here. A couple more things to do here. For one, I want to dial in the gains before we completely button it up, just to make sure. Since this is hidden behind a panel, of course, dialing the gains prior to is probably the best idea. Also, where the gains are located on the amp will determine how that amp is mounted onto the board. These gains here on the Alpine V90 are right underneath the cover plate on the top there. So it made sense just to mount this sideways here. If you have a amp that has the gains on the bottom, you may want to mount that sideways, or we'll mount it sideways, etc. Right? So just to set the gains, this is always asked to us, where do we set the gains at, and do we set it prior to sending it out? No, we don't set them prior to sending out, just because everybody has different ears, everybody has a different listening style and different tone that they want to hear. What you're going to do is turn all of these gains down to 0 on the amplifier, the channel 1 and 2, channel 3 and 4, and the sub. Turn all the gains down to 0. On the radio, you're going to set all of your frequencies. If it's a factory radio like this is here, you're going to only have your 3, your lows, your mids, and your tweeters, your treble. You're going to set all those at 0, right? Set them all at 0, turn the volume up to about 75%, and then come back here and one by one start increasing your gain. You're going to increase the gain until you start hearing a slight distortion from the speakers. When you hear that slight distortion, back the gain down a little bit. And then you can move, and then you can mark where that one is to move on to the next channel. So that way you're only listening to that one individual channel at a time. Once you found the right spot to where they're slightly distorting, you backed it down, then you can put them all to that same spot, and you can use the head unit for minor adjustments if you feel like you need a little bit more treble or a little bit more mid, but all of your adjustments really should be made at the amplifier, not necessarily at the factory head unit. All right, so now once that is done, you can go ahead and button it up. However, since the pack module is mounted back here as well, you're going to want to, for one, make sure, test the system, make sure that it works, make sure everything's working with the pack module. And also, you're probably going to want to adjust the chime. This thing comes preset, but the manual will provide very detailed instructions on how to set your chime. You're going to want to factory reset the vehicle. So roll the windows up, close the doors, lock the doors, bring the key fob about 15-20 feet away, let that sit for about 15-20 minutes. What that does is it resets the factory system to accept everything you've done to it. Then you can come back, and at that point that's when I would adjust the chime. Right. Again, adjusting the chime is very simple here. There's a couple different ways to do it. You can either connect the pack module to a computer, which I wouldn't recommend doing. You're going to want to do it while you're sitting in the vehicle. You attach the bass knob that comes with it, and then turn the vehicle on. And again, it'll walk you through how to adjust that chime to how you want to hear it, whether you want to hear it very loud, whether you don't want to hear it at all, etc., etc. Your adjustments are right here. It's pretty clear. Cool. Now that that is set up, we are going to go ahead and button this up. We still need to install the sub. We just need to mount it on the side here. Very easy. We'll walk you through all of that. So let's get on with buttoning this portion up, mounting the sub, and being done with this project. All right, so before we put the sub in, we're going to put the trim panels back in. So we're going to put the side panel in first. Earlier, when I took the panel out, I told you that there was these blue clips that popped off of the panel and were stuck in the side. Go ahead and take those out of the side, like I mentioned. And you're going to want to put them into the location that they came out of, because if this is left inside the Bronco here, the way that this clips on, it clips on with a hook underneath it. You won't be able to do that. It just doesn't work, right? So you'll see what I'm talking about if that happens. So take it off, put it into its slot, and slide it down. And put the next one into the slot and slide it down. When you put it in, you just have to push it in, and it'll pop right into the hole that it came out of. All right. So let's get this piece in first. So now remember, we disconnected the 12 volt, we disconnected the light, and we disconnected this module here also. So we're going to want to reconnect the 12 volt, the light, and the module here. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. You saw me take them off, doing the same thing backwards. Clips are in. All right, you're going to go ahead and just make sure no cables are pinched behind the board here. Just snap all the remaining pieces back in. There's that one trim piece that you saw me take off earlier. I can reach it from here. I'm just going to go ahead and pop that back on. All right, now we can put this piece back in here. There you go. That's good. Now we can go ahead and put our trim pieces back in. All right, let's go ahead and get this trim panel piece on over here. Now let's get that trim panel piece up there. There you go. That snaps right down. Next, we'll put the piece down below here, and then we'll mount the sub because the bracket mounts on top of that. I'm going to go ahead and reinstall these 3 hooks. I'm going to leave that one to the end because that's the one that the sub needs to mount on top of. Like I said, I'm going to leave that one off because it's now time to mount the sub. All right, to mount the side sub, it's going to go right in this location here. You're going to pull this panel off of here. This sub comes with 2 brackets, whether you have the hard top or whether you have the soft top. Obviously, we have the hard top, so this is the bracket that we're going to use. These 2 holes right here is right where it's going to mount to. You're going to install this right inside here. It's going to screw right into those 2 holes. And then the sub bracket is going to sit right on top of that and screw down. And then the bottom piece is going to mount onto this portion over here. So the way this mounts, you're not going to use the factory hardware. You're going to use the hardware that comes with the SSV Works sub. Comes with this little bridge bracket here. This is going to sit down below here first. And then the sub bracket is going to rest on top of that. This is going to rest on top of the sub bracket. And these screws are going to screw in and hold it down into it. So you have a couple of pieces to mount to each other. Let's go ahead and get the sub into place, and then we can get those bolts. In addition, these two bolts here, this bracket is going to rest on top here, and these two bolts are going to come down from the top and hold it down to place. All right, sub box is in. As you can see, it's very sturdy. It's mounted to the side, it's mounted to the bottom. This piece here is not going to fit now since the bracket is a little different, so that'll just store under the storage space or something like that. Obviously, all of the storage space retained, all your cargo area, new amp, full bundle, new sub, all your cargo space saved. All right, there you go. The sub is installed. As you can see, it's very solid, mounted to the side, mounted to the bottom. As you can see also, all of the storage space is retained. All of your cargo area is still available. We have a brand new full system amp bundle on this side. We have your new sub on this side. Everything is plug and play. Everything is ready to go. This Bronco here, we did the 6.5-inch rear speakers as well as the full speakers up front, of course. We'll drop the link down in the description below so you can see the full speaker install. So that concludes our full system amp install that Trail 7 brings to you, 100% plug and play, as you saw. It was not a very difficult install. It was relatively easy. Everything is put together on the board for you. I hope you enjoyed that. We definitely enjoyed that. We enjoyed bringing it to you. If you have anything that you'd like to see into your Bronco that you don't see on the site, please reach out to us. Let us know. We'd love to hear what you guys want to see. We can put things together for you. Just let us know. Reach out. If you'd like to pick up a full plug-and-play system for your Bronco, please visit us today at www.trail7.com. And until next time, we'll see you out there.